Jake Sullivan stood at the large window of the spaceship UES Harmony and looked out at the stars. His hands were steady, but his heart was beating fast. Today was the most important day in human history. After 50 years of watching from far away, the Zephyrian Empire had agreed to meet with humans face to face. The meeting would happen in space, far from any planet. Both sides wanted to be safe. Jake had been a diplomat for 20 years. He had talked to many different alien races before, but none of them were as powerful as the Zephyrians. "Sir, we're getting close to the meeting point," said Captain Luke Hayes. He was a tall man with short brown hair and serious eyes. Luke was there to protect Jake if things went wrong. "Thank you, Luke," Jake said. He turned away from the window and walked to his desk. On it were thick files about the Zephyrian Empire. Jake had read them many times, but he picked up the top file anyway. The Zephyrians controlled 12 star systems. They had technology that humans could only dream about. Their ships could travel faster than anything humans had ever built. Their weapons could destroy whole planets. But what made them really different was how they thought. Zephyrians did not feel emotions the way humans did. They thought with pure logic. They believed feelings made people weak and stupid. To them, the best choice was always the one that made sense, not the one that felt right. Dr. Amy Foster walked into the room. She was a language expert who could speak with almost any alien race. Amy was short with red hair and green eyes. She always smiled even when she was nervous. "The Zephyrian ship just arrived," Amy said. "It's huge, Jake. Much bigger than ours." Jake nodded. He had expected that. The Zephyrians wanted to show their power from the very start. "What do our sensors tell us about their ship?" "It has weapons that could turn us into space dust in seconds," Luke said. "But they're not pointing them at us. That's something, I guess." Jake put down the file and stood up. "Remember, we're here to talk, not to fight. The Zephyrians agreed to this meeting because they're curious about us. We need to show them that humans can be good partners." Amy looked worried. "Jake, I've been studying their language for months. But they also use thoughts to talk to each other. I won't know what they're really saying." "We'll do our best with words," Jake said. "That's all we can do." A voice came over the ship's speakers. "Sir, the Zephyrian ship is asking us to come aboard their vessel for the meeting." Jake, Amy, and Luke looked at each other. Going to the alien ship was dangerous. If the Zephyrians wanted to hurt them, there would be no escape. "Sir?" the voice asked again. Jake took a deep breath. "Tell them we accept. We'll come aboard their ship." Luke shook his head. "Jake, this could be a trap." "Maybe," Jake said. "But if we say no, they'll think we don't trust them. This meeting will be over before it starts." 30 minutes later, Jake, Amy, and Luke were sitting in a small shuttle flying toward the Zephyrian ship. The alien vessel was beautiful and scary at the same time. It was made of some kind of silver metal that seemed to glow with its own light. The ship was shaped like a long crystal, with smooth curves and sharp edges. "I've never seen anything like it," Amy whispered. The shuttle flew into a large opening in the side of the Zephyrian ship. Inside, everything was white and silver. The walls seemed to be made of light itself. There were no rough edges anywhere. Everything was perfect and clean. 3 Zephyrians were waiting for them. Jake had seen pictures before, but seeing them in person was different. They were tall and thin, much taller than humans. Their skin was pale blue and seemed to shine softly. Their eyes were large and silver, with no pupils that Jake could see. They wore long robes that moved like water. The one in the middle stepped forward. When she spoke, Her voice was musical, but cold. I am Princess Lyrelay of House Starwind. I speak for the Zephyrian Empire. Jake stepped forward and bowed slightly. I am Ambassador Jake Sullivan. I speak for all humans. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. Princess Lyrelay did not bow back. She looked at Jake like he was an interesting bug. Your species is very young. You have been in space for less than 100 of your years. Why should the Empire waste time talking to children? Amy quickly translated the princess's words, even though they were speaking in English. The princess had a strange accent that made some words hard to understand. Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he pushed it down. We may be young, but we learn fast. Humans have spread to 40 star systems in just 50 years. We think the Empire might find us useful. Useful. Princess Lyrelay's silver eyes seemed to laugh, but her face did not change. What could your primitive species offer the Empire? One of the other Zephyrians, an older male, stepped forward. Princess, perhaps we should move to the meeting room. This place is not suitable for important talk. Princess Lyrelay nodded. Yes, Chancellor Valdris. Let us see what these humans have to say. The Zephyrians led Jake, Amy, and Luke through halls that seemed to go on forever. Everything was too perfect, too clean. Jake felt like he was walking through a museum, not a living ship. Finally, they came to a large room with a round table in the center. The table was made of the same glowing material as the walls. Princess Lyrelay sat down on one side. Chancellor Valdris and the third Zephyrian sat beside her. Jake sat across from the princess. Amy and Luke sat on either side of him. For a moment, nobody spoke. Princess Lyrelay broke the silence. Ambassador Sullivan, your people asked for this meeting. What do you want? Jake had practiced this speech many times. We want to be friends with the Zephyrian Empire. Humans and Zephyrians could help each other. We could trade goods and knowledge. We could explore the galaxy together. Friends? Princess Lyrelay said the word like it tasted bad. The Empire does not have friends. The Empire has subjects and enemies. Which are you? Jake felt the weight of the moment. His next words could decide the future of humanity. We want to be partners, equals working together. Chancellor Valdris made a sound that might have been laughter. Equals? Your ships are slow. Your weapons are weak. Your people die after only 100 years. You feel emotions that make you act without thinking. How can you be equal to us? Amy leaned forward. Princess, humans may not live as long as Zephyrians, but we use our short lives well. We create beautiful art. We explore dangerous places. We help each other even when it costs us. Princess Lyrelay looked at Amy with interest. You help each other? Why? What do you gain? Amy seemed confused by the question. We don't gain anything. We help because it's right. Right? Princess Lyrelay repeated. Explain this concept. Jake realized that the Zephyrians really did not understand human emotions. To them, every action had to have a logical reason. The idea of helping someone just because it was good was alien to them. Some things are right, and some things are wrong, Jake said slowly. We help others because we believe all thinking beings deserve to be happy and free. Chancellor Valdris shook his head. Emotions make you weak. Logic makes you strong. The Empire has grown powerful because we think clearly. We do not let feelings cloud our judgment. Princess Lyrelay raised her hand for silence. She stared at Jake for a long moment. Ambassador Sullivan, your species interests me. You are weak, but you do not seem to know it. You speak of concepts that have no logical meaning. Yet your people have survived and grown. She paused, then continued. The Empire will consider working with humans, but there will be conditions, many conditions. Jake felt hope rising in his chest. We're ready to listen, Princess. Princess Lyreley smiled, but it was not a warm smile. Good. Let us begin. 3 days had passed since the first meeting. Jake Sullivan sat in his small room on the neutral space station called Haven's Rest. The station was built by many different alien races for meetings like this one. It was the only place where humans and Zephyrians could meet safely. Jake rubbed his tired eyes. The negotiations were not going well. Each day, Princess Lyreley and Chancellor Valdris made new demands. Each demand was worse than the last. Amy Foster knocked on his door. Jake, they're ready for today's meeting. Jake stood up and straightened his formal clothes. Any word from Earth? Yes, Amy said quietly. President Martinez wants us to accept their terms, whatever they are. Jake's heart sank. He understood why Earth was scared. The Zephyrian Empire could destroy humanity without trying very hard. But their demands were getting crazy. Luke Hayes was waiting outside the meeting room. His hand rested on his weapon, even though weapons were not supposed to be allowed on the station. Jake, I don't like this. They're playing games with us. No, Jake said, but we have to try. They walked into the meeting room. Princess Lyreley was already there, sitting straight and tall. Her silver eyes watched Jake as he sat down. Chancellor Valdris sat beside her, looking bored. Ambassador Sullivan, Princess Lyreley said, today we will discuss the final terms of our agreement. Jake nodded. We're ready to listen, Chancellor. Valdris opened a device that projected words in the air. The Empire requires the following from humanity. First, you will give us control of 5 of your colonies, the colonies with the most natural resources. Jake felt his stomach drop. Those 5 colonies were home to over 50 million humans. Princess, those colonies have families living on them. We can't just give them away. You can and you will, Chancellor Valdris said. The Empire needs those resources. The people living there will become subjects of the Empire. They will be treated well if they obey. Princess Lyreley watched Jake's face carefully. She seemed interested in his reaction. Continue, Chancellor. Second, Chancellor Valdris said, humanity will share all of its technology with the Empire. All of it. Your computers, your weapons, your medical knowledge, everything, Amy spoke up. That would leave Earth defenseless. If we give you all our technology, we'll have nothing left. You will have the Empire's protection, Princess Lyreley said. Is that not enough? Third, Chancellor Valdris continued, the Empire requires access to Earth itself. We wish to study your planet's biology. We will take samples of your plants, animals, and people for our research. People? Luke's voice was sharp with anger. You want to experiment on humans? Chancellor Valdris looked at Luke like he was stupid. Of course, your species is interesting. We must understand how you function despite your emotional weaknesses. Jake felt anger burning in his chest. These aliens were talking about humans like they were animals in a zoo. Princess, these terms are not acceptable. Princess Lyreley tilted her head. Explain why. Because they would make humans slaves, Jake said. We would lose our freedom, our homes, and our dignity. These are not the terms of a partnership. These are the terms of surrender. Yes, Princess Lyrelay said simply. The Empire does not make partnerships. The Empire makes subjects. You may choose to be willing subjects or unwilling subjects, but you will be subjects. Jake stood up. His heart was pounding, but his voice was calm. Then I'm afraid we cannot agree to these terms. Chancellor Valdris laughed. It was a cold, musical sound. Ambassador, you seem to misunderstand your situation. Your entire species has perhaps 100 warships. The Empire has 10,000. Your people live on 40 worlds. The Empire controls thousands. You cannot refuse our offer. Watch me, Jake said. Princess Lyrelay leaned forward. She seemed surprised. You would choose war over submission? We would choose freedom over slavery, Jake said, even if it means fighting a war we cannot win. Amy and Luke stood up beside Jake. Amy was scared, but she spoke clearly. Ambassador Sullivan speaks for all humans. We will not accept these terms. Luke's hand moved to his weapon. And if you try to force us, you'll find out why humans have survived this long. Princess Lyrelay stared at Jake for a long moment. You would let your species be destroyed rather than accept our protection? It wouldn't be protection, Jake said. It would be slavery, and humans have learned that some things are worse than death. Such as, Princess Lyrelay asked, living without hope, living without choice, living without the right to say no. Jake's voice was getting stronger. Princess, in human history, there have been many times when powerful empires tried to control weaker peoples. Sometimes the weak peoples won. Sometimes they lost. But they always fought. Chancellor Valdris shook his head. Illogical. Why die for abstract concepts? Because those concepts make life worth living, Amy said. What's the point of being alive if you can't choose your own path? Princess Lyrelay was quiet for a long time. She seemed to be thinking about something difficult. Finally, she spoke. Ambassador Sullivan, help me understand. You would rather die free than live as subjects? Yes, Jake said without hesitation. Even if dying free meant that your children would never be born? Even if it meant that all human art, music, and knowledge would be lost forever? Jake thought about his own daughter back on Earth. She was only 10 years old. If war came, she might not live to grow up. But if he agreed to these terms, she would grow up as a slave. Yes, he said again. Because if we give up our freedom, we won't be human anymore. We'll just be pets. Princess Lyrelay stood up suddenly. This meeting is over. The Empire will consider your response. She walked out of the room quickly. Chancellor Valdris followed her, but not before giving Jake a look of pure hatred. Luke waited until the aliens were gone, then turned to Jake. Are you crazy? You just declared war on the most powerful empire in the galaxy. No, Jake said. I just told them who we are. Amy sat down heavily. Jake, Earth is going to be furious. They wanted us to make a deal. I know, Jake said. But some deals are too expensive, even if the price is survival. Over the next few hours, angry messages came from Earth. President Martinez demanded to know why Jake had refused the Zephyrian terms. Military leaders said Jake had doomed humanity. Some people called him a hero. Others called him a fool. Jake read all the messages, but he didn't change his mind. He thought about all the humans throughout history who had chosen to fight, rather than surrender. They had faced impossible odds, too. Most of them had lost, but some had won. And even the ones who lost had kept their dignity. That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He walked to the observation deck of the station. Through the large windows, he could see the Zephyrian ship floating in space. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Couldn't sleep either? Jake turned around. Princess Lyrelei was standing behind him. She was alone, which was unusual. Zephyrian royalty usually traveled with guards. "Princess," Jake said, "I didn't expect to see you here." She walked to stand beside him at the window. "I have been thinking about what you said today, about choosing death over slavery. And I do not understand it," she said. "In Zephyrian culture, survival is the highest goal. We do whatever we must to continue living. The idea of choosing death for any reason is alien to us." Jake smiled at the irony. "And to us, the idea of living without freedom is alien." Princess Lyrelei looked at him with her strange silver eyes. "Tell me about your history, Ambassador. Tell me about these humans who chose to fight impossible battles." Jake thought for a moment. "There was a place called Thermopylae. 300 human soldiers held a mountain pass against an army of thousands. They knew they would die, but they fought anyway. They died, but they gave their people time to prepare for the real battle." "They died for nothing," Princess Lyrelei said. "They died for everything," Jake replied. "They died so their children could live free." Princess Lyrelei was quiet for a long time. "Your species confuses me, Ambassador Sullivan. You act against your own self-interest. It makes no logical sense." "Maybe logic isn't everything," Jake said. Princess Lyrelei turned to look at him. "What do you mean?" "Logic tells you what you can do, but it doesn't tell you what you should do. Sometimes the right choice isn't the logical choice." "Then how do you decide what is right?" Jake pointed to his chest. "We feel it. In here." Princess Lyrelei stared at him like he had just said something impossible. Then she turned and walked, away without another word. Jake stayed at the window for a long time, watching the stars and wondering if he had just saved humanity or doomed it. Princess Lyrelei sat in her private room on the Zephyrian ship. The walls around her glowed with soft silver light, but she barely noticed. Her mind was focused on something else entirely. She was reading about humans. The computer screen in front of her showed page after page of human history. Wars, revolutions, and heroes. People who had given up everything for ideas that made no logical sense. "Princess?" Chancellor Valdris entered her room without knocking. In Zephyrian culture, privacy was not as important as duty. "You missed the evening council meeting." "I was studying," Princess Lyrelei said without looking up. Chancellor Valdris walked over to see what she was reading. His face showed disgust. "Why are you wasting time on human nonsense? Their history is full of violence and stupidity." "Is it?" Princess Lyrelei asked. She pointed to the screen. "Look at this. In the year 1940, a small island nation called Britain fought against a much larger empire. They were alone. They were outnumbered. Their cities were being bombed every night. But they refused to surrender." "Stupidity," Chancellor Valdris said. "They should have accepted defeat and saved lives." "But they didn't," Princess Lyrelei continued. "They fought for 2 years alone. Many of their people died, but they never gave up. And in the end, they won." Chancellor Valdris waved his hand dismissively. "Luck, nothing more." Princess Lyrelei stood up and faced him. "Was it luck when the humans fought the Centauri slavers? Was it luck when they freed the mining colonies on Kepler Prime? Every time humans face a stronger enemy, the same thing happens. They fight." And sometimes they lose, Chancellor Valdris pointed out. Yes, Princess Lyrelay said. But even when they lose, something happens. Other people see them fighting. Other people get inspired. The humans have a saying, freedom is contagious. Chancellor Valdris looked worried. Princess, these emotional ideas are dangerous. They cloud logical thinking. The Empire has stayed strong for thousands of years because we think clearly. Princess Lyrelay turned back to the computer screen. Have we? Or have we stayed strong because no one has ever challenged us? Meanwhile, on the space station, Jake Sullivan was having his own problems. Word had spread through the station that humans had refused the Zephyrian terms. Aliens from all over the galaxy wanted to talk to him. Ambassador Sullivan? A small, furry alien approached Jake in the station's main corridor. I am Trade Representative Kellen from the BRICS Consortium. Is it true? Did you really say no to the Zephyrians? Jake stopped walking. Yes, we did. The alien's large eyes grew even larger. But they could destroy you. Yes, Jake said. They could. Then why? Another alien asked. This one was tall and thin with blue skin. Why risk everything? Jake looked around. A crowd of aliens had gathered to listen. He saw species he recognized and some he didn't. All of them looked scared and curious at the same time. Because, Jake said loudly enough for everyone to hear. Some things are worth more than survival. An alien with 6 arms and crystal skin spoke up. The Zephyrians have ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. No one says no to them. Someone just did, Amy Foster said. She had been shopping in the station's market when the crowd formed. Now she stood beside Jake. But what happens? Now? Asked the furry alien. Will there be war? Maybe, Jake said honestly. But maybe not. Maybe the Zephyrians will decide that beings who fight for freedom are worth more as allies than as slaves. The crowd murmured among themselves. Jake noticed that they were speaking in their own languages now, not in the common trade language. They were excited. Luke Hayes appeared at Jake's shoulder. Sir, we need to go. The princess wants another meeting. As they walked away, Jake could hear the aliens still talking. The word freedom kept coming up in their conversations, spoken in a dozen different languages. Back on the Zephyrian ship, Princess Lyrelay was preparing for the meeting. But she was not preparing the way Chancellor Valdris expected. Princess, he said, you must make the humans understand their position. They are weak. We are strong. This is the natural order. Is it? Princess Lyrelay asked. She was wearing simpler clothes than before. Instead of the flowing robes of royalty, she wore a plain silver dress. Chancellor, I have been reading about something called the Warsaw Uprising. Chancellor Valdris sighed. More human history? In the year 1944, humans in a city called Warsaw rose up against their conquerors. They had almost no weapons. They had no hope of winning. They knew they would die, but they fought anyway. Madness, Chancellor Valdris said. The conquerors thought so too, Princess Lyrelay said. They couldn't understand why the humans wouldn't just give up, so they brought in more soldiers, more weapons. They destroyed the entire city. They killed almost everyone. You see, Chancellor Valdris said. The humans lost. Did they? Princess Lyrelay asked. The conquerors won the battle, but they lost the war. People all over the world heard about Warsaw. They saw that humans would rather die than live as slaves. It inspired them to fight too. In the end, the conquerors were defeated. Chancellor Valdris looked alarmed. Princess, these ideas are dangerous. You are starting to think like a human. Maybe, Princess Lyrelay said, or maybe humans think like I'm starting to think. The meeting room was the same as before, but something was different. Princess Lyrelay sat across from Jake, but she looked at him differently now. Her silver eyes were still alien, but they seemed warmer somehow. Ambassador Sullivan, she said, I have been thinking about our last conversation. So have I, Jake said. I have been studying your species, Princess Lyrelay continued. Your history is very strange to us. You fight battles you cannot win. You sacrifice yourselves for others. You choose ideals over survival. Chancellor Valdris leaned forward. Princess, please remember why we are here. The Empire requires submission from humanity. Princess Lyrelay held up her hand for silence. I am not finished, Chancellor. She looked back at Jake. I want to understand something. When you refused our terms yesterday, you knew it might mean war. You knew your species might be destroyed, but you refused anyway. Yes, Jake said. Why? Jake thought carefully about his answer. Because, Princess, there are some things that matter more than staying alive. Freedom matters, dignity matters, the right to choose your own path matters, even if choosing that path leads to death. Even then, Princess Lyrelay was quiet for a long moment. On my world, we have a saying. The wise person bends with the wind so they will not break. We believe that survival is the highest virtue. On my world, Jake said, we have a saying too. Give me liberty or give me death. We believe that some things are worth dying for. Such as? Love, Amy said suddenly. Humans die for love all the time. Parents die to save their children. Soldiers die to save their friends. Family loyalty is logical, Chancellor Valdris said. It helps the species survive. No, Amy said. I mean all love. Humans will die to save strangers. They will risk their lives for people they've never met just because those people need help. Princess Lyrelay looked confused. Why would you save someone who means nothing to you? Because they mean everything to themselves, Jake said. Every thinking being has value. Every life matters. Even ours? Princess Lyrelay asked quietly. The question surprised Jake. What do you mean? Would humans risk their lives to save Zephyrians? Jake didn't hesitate. If Zephyrians were in danger and needed help, yes, humans would help. Even after we threatened you? Even then. Princess Lyrelay stared at Jake for a long time. Something was changing in her silver eyes. I do not understand. Your species, Ambassador Sullivan. But I am beginning to think that not understanding you may be my weakness, not yours. Chancellor Valdris stood up angrily. Princess, this is enough. These emotional ideas are contaminating your thinking. We must end this meeting and return to the Empire. The High Council must be told that humanity refuses to submit. Sit down, Chancellor, Princess Lyrelay said firmly. I am not finished learning. Chancellor Valdris looked shocked. Princess Lyrelay had never spoken to him that way before. He sat down slowly, his face showing worry and anger. Princess Lyrelay turned back to Jake. Tell me more about this concept you call courage. Jake smiled for the first time in days. Courage isn't about not being afraid, Princess. Courage is about being afraid and doing the right thing anyway. And how do you know what the right thing is? Jake pointed to his heart again. You feel it. Deep inside, you know. Princess Lyrelay put her hand over her own heart. I feel many things, Ambassador. But my people have taught me to ignore feelings. They say feelings make us weak. Maybe, Jake said gently. Feelings don't make you weak. Maybe they make you strong in a different way. Princess Lyreley closed her eyes. When she opened them again, she looked different. I need time to think about this. This meeting is over. As the humans left the room, Princess Lyreley called out to Jake. Ambassador? Jake turned back. Thank you, she said. For the first time in my life, I am beginning to understand what courage means. The alarm started screaming at Oro 300 station time. Jake Sullivan jumped out of bed and ran to his door. Red lights were flashing in the hallway. Other aliens were running and shouting in languages he didn't understand. Amy Foster came out of her room, still in her sleeping clothes. What's happening? Luke Hayes was already dressed and armed. Emergency meeting in the command center. Now! They ran through the station's corridors. The artificial gravity felt strange, like it was getting weaker. The air tasted bad, like metal, and fear. The command center was full of panicked aliens. The station commander, a tall being with gray skin and 4 arms, was shouting orders. When he saw Jake, he hurried over. Ambassador Sullivan, the station's life support system is failing. We have maybe 6 hours of air left. What happened? Jake asked. Sabotage, the commander said. Someone planted bombs in the main air recycling plant. The backup systems are damaged too. Amy grabbed Jake's arm. Who would do this? Before anyone could answer, Chancellor Valdris walked into the command center. He looked calm and cold. Behind him came Princess Lyreley and several Zephyrian guards. How terrible, Chancellor Valdris said. His voice didn't sound sad at all. Such an unfortunate accident. Luke's hand moved to his weapon. That was no accident. Chancellor Valdris smiled. Can you prove that, Captain? Princess Lyreley looked around the room. Her silver eyes were wide with shock. Chancellor, what is going on here? The station is dying, Princess, Chancellor Valdris said. We must evacuate immediately. Our ships are ready. What about everyone else? Princess Lyreley asked. Chancellor, Valdris shrugged. Not our problem. The Empire does not waste resources on other species. Jake stepped forward. How many people are on this station? The commander checked his computer. 3,000 beings from 40 different worlds. How many can the Zephyrian ships save? Jake asked. Chancellor Valdris laughed. The Empire's ships are not rescue vessels. We can take perhaps 100 beings, the important ones. Princess Lyreley stared at him. You're going to let 3,000 people die. Princess, Chancellor Valdris said patiently, these beings mean nothing to the Empire. We must protect ourselves first. But that's murder, Amy said. No, Chancellor Valdris replied. That's logic. Jake looked at the station commander. How many escape pods does the station have? Maybe enough for half the people here, the commander said. But the pods can only go so far. Without ships to pick them up, they'll just float in space until their power runs out. Our ship can take 500 people, Luke said. But that's still not enough. Princess Lyreley was quiet, but Jake could see she was thinking hard. Finally, she spoke. Chancellor, order our ships to help with the evacuation. Chancellor Valdris's face showed shock. Princess, that is not logical. These beings are not Zephyrian. I don't care, Princess Lyreley said. It's the right thing to do. Right? Chancellor Valdris laughed. Princess, you are talking like a human. Logic must guide our actions, not emotions. Maybe humans are right about some things, Princess, Lyreley said. Chancellor Valdris looked furious. Princess, I cannot allow you to risk Imperial ships for aliens. You cannot allow? Princess Lyrale's voice became very cold. I am your princess. You will do as I command. Not if that command endangers the Empire, Chancellor Valdris said. I have orders from the High Council. If you become compromised, I am to take command. Jake realized what was happening. You planned this, didn't you? You sabotaged the station. Chancellor Valdris smiled. I don't know what you mean, Ambassador. You wanted to show the princess that humans are weak. You wanted her to see us die so she would stop caring about us. Humans are weak, Chancellor Valdris said, and caring about weak beings makes one weak. Princess Lyralai stepped between them. Chancellor, you will order our ships to help with the evacuation. Now! No, Chancellor Valdris said firmly. Princess, you are relieved of command. Guards, escort her to her quarters. The Zephyrian guards moved toward Princess Lyralai. Jake didn't think. He just acted. He stepped in front of the guards, blocking their path to the princess. Get out of the way, human, one of the guards said. No, Jake said. Luke raised his weapon. You want her? You go through us. Amy moved to stand beside Jake. She was shaking, with fear, but her voice was steady. The princess has done nothing wrong, Chancellor Valdris laughed. Humans, you are even more foolish than I thought. You would die for someone who is not even your species? Yes, Jake said simply. Why? Because it's right, Amy said. Because she's trying to help people, Luke added. Because, Jake said, that's what humans do. We protect people who need protecting. Princess Lyralai stared at them. You would risk your lives for me? Without question, Jake said. Princess Lyralai closed her silver eyes. When she opened them, something had changed. She looked different, stronger. Guards, stand down. Princess, one of the guards said. The Chancellor ordered. I am your princess, she said in a voice that commanded respect. Not him. Stand down. The guards hesitated. They looked between Princess Lyralai and Chancellor Valdris, unsure who to obey. Choose, Princess Lyralai said. Loyalty to the Empire or loyalty to logic without heart. The guards slowly stepped back. Chancellor Valdris's face showed rage. This is treason, Princess. The High Council will hear of this. Let them, Princess Lyralai said. Commander, how much time do we have? The station commander checked his instruments. 5 hours now, maybe less. Princess Lyralai turned to her guards. Send word to all Imperial ships. Begin evacuation procedures immediately. Save as many beings as possible. Princess, Chancellor Valdris started. Be quiet, Princess Lyralai said. Jake, how can we help? Jake felt hope rising in his chest. Our ship can coordinate with yours. We can organize the evacuation by sections. Do it, Princess Lyralai said. For the next 4 hours, human and Zephyrian ships worked together. They had never cooperated before, but desperation made them learn fast. Princess Lyralai worked alongside Jake, organizing rescue teams and evacuation routes. Jake watched her with amazement. This was not the cold, logical princess he had met days before. She crawled through damaged sections of the station to reach trapped aliens. She gave up her own escape pod to a family with children. She worked until her silver robes were dirty and torn. Princess, Jake said during a brief break, you don't have to do this. You could be safe on your ship. Princess Lyralai wiped sweat from her forehead. I'm learning something, Jake. When you help others, even when it's dangerous, it feels good. Is this what humans call happiness? Part of it, Jake said. I think I understand courage now, she said. It's not about not being afraid. It's about caring more about others than about yourself. With 1 hour left, they had saved most of the people on the station. But there were still 300 beings trapped in a damaged section. The rescue teams couldn't reach them. The path was blocked by twisted metal and leaking radiation. We need to abandon that section, the station commander said sadly. It's too dangerous. No, Princess Lyrelei said. There has to be a way. Luke studied the damage reports. There is a way. Someone could go through the maintenance tunnels, but it's a one-way trip. The radiation would kill anyone who tried it. Then we can't ask anyone to go, Jake said. You don't have to ask, Princess Lyrelei said quietly. I volunteer. Everyone stared at her. Princess, no, Chancellor Valdris said. You are too important to risk. That's exactly why I have to go, Princess Lyrelei said. Jake taught me something. Real leaders don't ask others to do what they won't do themselves. Jake grabbed her arm. Princess, you don't understand. The radiation will kill you slowly. It will be painful. Princess Lyrelei smiled. It was the first time Jake had seen her smile with real warmth. I understand perfectly. This is what courage feels like, isn't it? Being afraid, but doing what's right anyway. Yes, Jake said. But then I finally understand what makes humans special, Princess Lyrelei said. She headed toward the maintenance tunnels. Jake made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. Wait, I'm going with you. No, Princess Lyrelei said. This is not your responsibility. Yes, it is, Jake said. Those people need help. That makes it everyone's responsibility. Amy stepped forward. If you're both going, then I'm going too. And me, Luke said. Princess Lyrelei looked at them with wonder. You would all die for strangers? We would all live for strangers, Jake corrected. And sometimes, living for others means risking death. Princess Lyrelei nodded slowly. Then let's go save some people. Together, the human diplomat and the alien princess crawled into the dark tunnels, heading toward danger and 300 beings who needed their help. Behind them, Chancellor Valdris watched in shock as his carefully logical world crumbled around him. The maintenance tunnel was dark and hot. Jake Sullivan crawled forward, his breathing mask fogging up with each breath. Behind him, Princess Lyrelei moved with surprising grace for someone who had never been in such a tight space. The radiation. Readings are getting worse, Amy Foster said through the radio. She was monitoring their progress from the command center. How much further? Princess Lyrelei asked. Luke Hayes checked his scanner. 200 meters, but Jake, the radiation is already at dangerous levels. Jake kept crawling. We knew this was a one-way trip. Let's make it count. They reached the trapped section after 30 minutes of crawling. The people inside were scared and hurt, but alive. Jake and Princess Lyrelei worked together to clear the blocked exit. Their hands were bleeding and their bodies ached, but they didn't stop. Princess, said a small alien child with blue fur. Are you really going to save us? Princess Lyrelei knelt down to the child's level. Yes, little one, I promise. But you're Zephyrian, the child said. Zephyrians don't save other people. Princess Lyrelei looked at Jake, then back at the child. Maybe it's time for Zephyrians to change. It took an hour to get everyone out. Jake and Princess Lyrelay were the last to leave the damaged section. By then, the radiation had made them both very sick. They could barely walk. "The evacuation is complete," Amy reported over the radio. "All ships are clear of the station." Jake and Princess Lyrelay sat against a wall in the corridor, too weak to move further. Around them, the station was falling apart. Lights flickered and went out. The air was getting thin. "Jake," Princess Lyrelay said weakly, "I want to thank you." "For what?" "For teaching me what courage really means." She coughed, and Jake saw silver blood on her lips. "I spent my whole life thinking that logic was the only way to live. But now I understand. Logic tells you what you can do. Courage tells you what you should do." Jake's vision was getting blurry. "Princess, I need to tell you something. This wasn't just about saving those people." "What do you mean?" "I think Chancellor Valdris planned all of this. He wanted you to see humans as weak. Instead, he showed you something else." Princess Lyrelay nodded slowly. "He showed me that strength isn't about power. It's about choosing to help others, even when it costs you everything." They were quiet for a moment. Then Princess Lyrelay spoke again. "Jake, if we survive this, I want to make a new deal between our peoples." "What kind of deal?" "A partnership of equals, no masters and subjects, just friends working together." Jake smiled, even though it hurt. "I'd like that." Suddenly, Luke's voice came over the radio. "Jake! Amy! We're coming back for you." "No!" Jake said into his radio. "It's too dangerous." "Since when has that stopped humans?" Amy's voice replied, through the station windows. Jake could see ships returning. Human ships and Zephyrian ships working together. They were coming back into the radiation zone to save two people who had risked everything for strangers. "Looks like you're not the only one who learned about courage today," Jake told Princess Lyrelay. 20 minutes later, rescue teams reached them. Jake woke up 3 days later in a hospital ship. Amy was sitting beside his bed, smiling. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Like I got hit by a spaceship," Jake said. "How's the princess?" "Alive. The Zephyrian doctors say she'll be fine in a few weeks." "Jake, something amazing happened while you were unconscious." "What?" Amy's smile got bigger. Princess Lyrelay stood up to the Zephyrian High Council. She told them that the Empire was wrong to treat other species as subjects. She said that real strength comes from helping others, not controlling them. Jake sat up carefully. "What did they say?" They were furious. Chancellor Valdris accused her of being contaminated by human emotions. He said she wasn't fit to rule. Jake's heart sank. "So they took away her title?" "That's the amazing part," Amy said. "She didn't care. She stood in front of the entire High Council and said that if being contaminated by emotions meant caring about others, then she was proud to be contaminated." Luke Hayes entered the room carrying a data pad. "Jake, you need to see this. News of what happened here has spread all over the galaxy. Smaller species are starting to stand up to bigger ones. They're saying that if humans can say no to the Zephyrian Empire, then anyone can stand up for what's right." Jake felt tears in his eyes. "And the Empire? Are they going to attack us?" Luke grinned. "That's the best part. Princess Lyrelay's father, the Emperor, called for an emergency council meeting. He said that any daughter brave enough to risk her life for strangers was exactly the kind of leader the Empire needed. He supported her. More than that, Amy said, he made her the new supreme commander of all Imperial forces. Her first order was to sign a peace treaty with humanity. Jake couldn't believe it. We're not going to war? Better than that, Luke said. We're going to be allies, equal partners. Princess Lirelai has already started reforming how the Empire treats other species. A week later, Jake was well enough to attend the treaty signing ceremony. It took place on Earth in the same building where humanity had first reached for the stars centuries before. Princess Lirelai looked different now. She still had her silver eyes and pale blue skin, but she carried herself differently. She looked happy. "Ambassador Sullivan," she said when she saw him. "How are you feeling?" "Much better, thanks to your doctors," Jake said. "How are you adjusting to your new job?" Princess Lirelai laughed. It was a sound Jake had never heard from a Zephyrian before, warm and genuine. "It's challenging. Thousands of years of tradition don't change overnight. But I have help." "Oh?" She gestured to a group of young Zephyrians standing nearby. "These are my new advisors. I call them the Courage Council. They're all Zephyrians who believe that emotions make us stronger, not weaker." Jake watched as one of the young Zephyrians helped an elderly alien to a chair. Another was playing with human children, laughing as they tried to pronounce her name. "It's working," Jake said with wonder. "Yes," Princess Lirelai said, "but it's not easy. Chancellor Valdris and others like him are fighting the changes. They say I'm destroying everything the Empire stands for." "Maybe you are," Jake said. "Maybe that's exactly what needed to happen." Princess Lirelai nodded. "I've learned that sometimes, to build something better, you have to tear down what came before." The treaty signing was brief, but historic. For the first time in galactic history, the Zephyrian Empire signed an agreement that recognized another species as equals. The document was simple, but its impact would last for generations. After the ceremony, Jake and Princess Lirelai walked in the garden outside the building. Earth's sun was setting, painting the sky in colors that made the princess gasp with wonder. "It's beautiful," she said. "Your world has sunsets too," Jake pointed out. "Yes, but I never really looked at them before," Princess Lirelai said. "I was too busy thinking about logical things. I never took time to feel beauty." They sat on a bench and watched the stars appear in the darkening sky. "Jake," Princess Lirelai said quietly, "I want to ask you something." "What?" "That day on the station when you stepped in front of my guards, you risked your life for me. Why?" Jake thought about his answer. "Because you were trying to do the right thing. Because someone had to stand up for what was right. Because that's what friends do." "Friends," Princess Lirelai repeated the word slowly. "I like that word." "Good," Jake said, "because I think our peoples are going to be friends for a long time." Princess Lirelai smiled. "Jake, I have something to confess. When I first met you, I thought humans were primitive and weak. And now I think we Zephyrians were the primitive ones. We had technology and power, but we didn't have the most important thing, which is the courage to care about others more than ourselves, the strength to do what's right, even when it's hard, the wisdom to know that real power comes from helping others, not controlling them." Jake looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there, other species were watching and learning. The example set by one human diplomat and one alien princess was spreading. Across the galaxy, fear was being replaced by hope. Tyranny was being challenged by courage. "Princess," Jake said, "I think this is just the beginning." Princess Lirelai followed his gaze to the stars. "You're right, Ambassador. But now, for the first time in my life, I'm not afraid of what comes next. Why not? She turned to him with those silver eyes that now sparkled with warmth and determination. Because I learned something from humans. When you have the courage to do what's right, you're never really alone. There will always be others who stand with you. Jake nodded. That's the most human thing I've ever heard you say. Princess Lyrelay laughed. I'll take that as a compliment. As they sat together under the stars, two beings from different worlds, but united by shared values, the galaxy seemed a little brighter and a lot more hopeful. The human diplomat's courage had indeed left the alien princess in awe, but more than that, it had changed her people, and changed the course of galactic history. And it all started with one simple choice: to do what was right, no matter the cost.